indicate that attached to that document was a specific list of issues to be addressed by yourself in your statement, and there's a total of 13 issues raised with you. So insofar as the structure of your statement is concerned, do you confirm that it follows the questions as listed, so you answer each question in turn? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to explain that to the extent that the commissioners might believe you are addressing yourself to an issue that they may for some reason deem irrelevant, that you are answering a question specifically posed to you by the evidence leaders. Okay. And if you may remember, if you agree with me or disagree with me, you don't nod or you don't shake your head, because the microphone won't pick up the answer. So just to remind you each time to please verbalize your answer. Against that understanding then, we turn to the first, what you call point 1, following paragraph 54. Are we there?
Yes, ma'am.
At point 1, you were invited to comment on the provisions of section 64C2 of the South African Police Act Service Act of 68 and 1995, and to provide your own interpretation as city manager of the powers set out therein, insofar as they relate to the chief of police. You confirm that? Your answer to that specific question then starts at paragraph 55. If you could take the commissioners through your response.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I understand the SAFS Act 64C2 of 1995 is that the Municipal Council will appoint a municipal police service, and the executive head of that would be the chief of police, and the accounting officer will be the chief executive officer. Therefore, the powers of the chief of police are subject to the directive of the chief executive officer, which is the accounting office.
Apologies. You proceed then from paragraph 56 to reference the systems of delegations, and you have attached an excerpt from the Municipal Systems Act number 32 of 2000. That excerpt you have annexed as IM 8, if you go to the annexures bundle.
8.
IM 8 at page 29.
Yes, ma'am, I found.
Have you located it?
Okay. Yes.
Earlier, I referenced a series of files to your right, and at the time I suggested that you not concern yourself with. Those, for the record, are the complete bundles of the 4 witnesses who testified from EMPD, to wit, Chief Mapiyeye, Commissioner Spies, Mr. Ngiza, and Ms. Tepper. Those are the files to your right, together with their respective annexures. I indicated that I will refer to them from time to time, and they are marked on the spine with their respective names. Can you then pull out the statement of Chief Mapiyeye? It will be a file of statement and annexures. And in particular, I would like to refer you to page 7.
Of the statement.
Of the statement of Mr. Mapiyeye. And I refer to page 7, paragraph 21, for convenience purely, because Chief Mapiyeye quoted section 64C2 in full, which is the section that you're engaging with under this heading.
Yes, ma'am.
And you will see from that quotation that it provides that the executive head, and you'll confirm that the executive, reference to the executive here is the chief of police.
Yes, ma'am.
Subject to this act being the SAPS Act, and a few other prescripts, exercise control over the municipal service and shall, amongst other things, and then it lists, let's say, his powers and duties. Do you confirm that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Do you confirm that section 64C provides that the chief of police is appointed by council and reports to council through the city manager?
That's correct.
With that understanding, therefore, kindly explain whether the section 56 of the Municipal Systems Act that you annex alters that position in any way. You remember, it doesn't. So the powers bestowed upon the chief of police as set out in Chief Mapiyeye's paragraph 21 remain unaffected by the provisions of section 56 of the Municipal Systems Act. I want, you either confirm or you don't. That's what I'm trying to test.
I don't.
You don't what?
I don't confirm.
Okay, what is the position, what is the impact in your understanding of section 56 on the powers of the chief of police?
Yeah, in fact, let me start by saying, in as much as there's a SAPS Act which deals with the powers of the chief of police, but the chief of police is appointed under the Municipal Systems Act, section 56. Therefore, the powers that is being given by the SAPS Act must be read with the powers of the Municipal Systems Act as a senior manager.
Yes.
As a senior manager. And also in terms of some of the, I know that there'll be criticism that systems of delegations cannot supersede the legislation. That I understand. But this is how the council works. Council is a third sphere of government, which is obviously autonomous from other spheres. All the spheres of government are actually autonomous to each other. For instance, in council, we have our own legislation, like your Municipal Systems Act, your Structures Act, the Municipal Finance Management Act, but we do take cognizance of certain acts that affect different portfolios within council, like your Health Act, which affect the social health and social development, and the SAPS Act that actually affects the operations of police. I hear some saying that the two acts must be read together. And in terms of the statement here that I usurped his powers, it cannot be true because I operate under the Municipal Systems Act, and the council has approved delegations, and also section 56 is clear in terms of the powers of the senior managers or the powers of the accounting officer. If it is his notion that I usurped his powers, unfortunately, I cannot confirm that and agree to that.
Thank you for that. You don't have it immediately before you. But I am going to read out some sections from the SAPS Act itself. And in particular, it's section 64, capital B, and it reads as follows, I quote, The chief executive officer of a municipality shall be responsible to the municipal council for the functioning of municipal services, police service. You heard that. So he's accountable, is responsible and accountable to the council. Section 64C, sub 1, provides that subject to section 64D, a municipal council shall appoint a member of the municipal police service as the executive head thereof. You heard that.
Yes, ma'am.
Based on that, do we at least accept that insofar as the subs-X is concerned, the chief of police is appointed by council and is accountable to the municipal council?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then I want to refer you to your annexure IM 8 at page 29 to point out whether the difference between the two sections, section 64C read with 64B and of the subsect, and section 56 of the Municipal Systems Act is as follows. If you could turn to your page 29 of the bundle.
Yes, ma'am.
The section you invoked is section 56, appointment of managers directly accountable to municipal managers. 56 sub 1 sub A provides a municipal council, after consultation with the municipal manager, must appoint Roman 1, a manager directly accountable to the municipal manager. In the context of what section 64B and C provide of the Subs Act, that is not the chief of police, because the chief of police, we know from that act, is accountable to council. Would you have a challenge with that proposition?
The Municipal Systems Act, as I understand it, and the SEFS Act, as I understand it, it says the executive head, the head will be the chief of police. But in terms of his powers are subject to the chief executive officer, which is the accounting officer. And then in terms of this section 56(1), a manager accountable to the municipal manager, chief in terms of his employment or contract, which we will send with the team, he's appointed as a senior manager under the Municipal Systems Act.
I'm testing my understanding now of what you say. So therefore, because you say he's appointed in terms of section 56 of the Municipal Systems Act, he therefore becomes accountable to the city manager.
Yes.
And you suggest that we overlook the provisions of the Subs Act, which makes him accountable to council.
Can you repeat your question?
My question is, based on what you've just said, and I'm checking whether I understand you correctly, that section 56, and you say he's appointed in terms of that section of the Municipal Systems Act, makes him accountable to the city manager, section 56.
Yes.
And you say that should be the prevailing section, and we overlook the fact that the Subs Act prescribes that the chief of police is accountable to council. Do we overlook the provisions of the Subs Act?
I'm not overlooking that particular Subs Act. Remember, the Subs Act is about the chief of police being the head, and it refers to me as the chief executive officer, and that his powers are subject to my directive as a chief executive officer. Then when you go to section 56, it is clear that even his employment contract, he reports to me directly. He doesn't report to council. He's the head of department of EMPD, to an extent that the current structure, organizational structure, that was done now by council, the chief of police position has been downgraded. There'll be a head of community services, like in the list of positions, the list of departments that I referred to in my statement. We no longer have a department of EMPD or Ekurhuleni Metropolis. It is under the head community services. He may not even be a police officer. He may be a firefighter. So these are two departments that have been merged. So I don't know how are we going to deal with these two legislations, because at some point, because of this confusion between the two legislation, I suggested to Chief in one of my statements that, Chief, because there is this gray area about the Subs Act in terms of your powers and the systems and the Municipal Systems Act, please create a policy for me. Create a policy for me. I don't know which, maybe at some point we'll go through it. Create a policy so that we avoid these gray areas in dealing with issues in the EMPD, because they are very peculiar. I'm not a police officer, and I do not deal with the Subs Act on a daily basis, and I don't deal only with the Metropolis. You can imagine that I have 26 departments, and they're all scattered within the city. Metropolis itself is in Kempton Park, like 50 kilometers away from the head office where my office was based. So it is important that these two acts, obviously, they are creating a gray area. Hence, I try to address it by requesting him to create a policy, because for me, it was a confusion.
Is it possible, and I put it no higher than that, that perhaps the error arose in his appointment by invoking Section 56? Is it possible that in appointing him, the council relied on Section 56
Yes.
when it ought to have relied on Section 64? Is that possible?
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay. Now, you say you recognize the conflict between the two because they deal with an important issue, which is the final repository of the power. You have a legal department within the city, I accept. Is that correct? Did you inquire from the legal department, or did you request an opinion to address specifically that conflict? Because I don't see how the chief of police, who is not a lawyer, to my understanding, would have assisted you. Did you direct perhaps a request to the legal department?
Well, the issue of conflict in terms of this thing, the SEPS Act as well as the Municipal Systems Act will remain a gray area for council. It's council that is supposed to actually take into cognizance the existence of this act. And one may argue to say that this has been our general argument, that Chief was appointed under Section 56 of the Municipal Act, not under the SEPS Act. And he draws his salary from the Municipal Systems Act or from council, municipal council, that has created systems of delegations that is governed through the Systems Act. So it's something that needs to be addressed by council, to be honest.
I appreciate that, and thank you for that answer. My question really was whether or not you had turned at any point to the city's legal department to seek guidance as to the correct interpretation and approach. You hadn't.
Not yet. I only requested a policy from Chief to assist me in dealing with the challenges that we face between the Systems Act and the SEPS Act in terms of his powers.
Noted. And I raise this issue specifically, and I do accept that it's a technical legal interpretations, and I do appreciate any challenges you may have in that regard. But I raise it particularly because it informs a number of decisions that you subsequently took that we will be dealing with. And it was necessary that the steps you took or the responses you gave be placed in their proper context as to your understanding of what your powers were and what his, as the chief of police, were. You state then at your paragraph 58 that the chief of police's powers are subject to your directives. And that, if I go back to Chief Mapiyeye's quotation of Section 64C, you derive from what's quoted there, because it specifically provides, the executive head shall, subject to this act, national standards and the directives of the chief executive officer of the municipality, exercise control over the municipal police service and shall, and then enumerates the powers granted him. Now you say those powers enumerated there, the chief of police must exercise subject to your directives. My question is, what impact did you understand any directives that you issued to have on those powers set out in 64? Does it strip the chief of police of the powers because you so direct? Or what is the impact of the directives? Because you say his powers are further subject to my directive.
Well, as I indicated that I work, I function, or I exercise my powers using the Systems Act. I am employed under the Systems Act, Section 54, and he's employed under the Systems Act, Section 56. So in terms of the powers, from those powers are actually interpreted as and when there are challenges. For instance, there was misunderstanding about the appointment, and I relied on the systems of delegations as well as the Systems Act, that, well, Chief, in as much as you are saying you are responsible for appointing from deputy chief of police up to a cleaner in your department, it is not possible. Hence, Council has created systems of delegation. When is he going to do his work? When he must sit in the interviews of junior officials. So the systems of delegations, as approved by Council, is meant to assist senior managers to concentrate on the general performance of the department, on governance issues, and on strategic issues than on operational issues. So that's why I relied on the systems of delegations, because I'm actually subject to actually adhere to them, as well as him, because he is appointed under the Systems Act, Municipal System Act. He's not in the. Okay, fine. Let me stop there.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm interested in your understanding of the effect of your directives on the powers of the chief of police as listed, and I'll give you an example. Sub B of that section 64, capital C, sub 2, stipulates that subject, of course, to the Act, to national standards, and directives of the chief executive officer of the municipality, the chief of police shall be responsible for the recruitment, appointment, promotion, and transfer of members of the municipal police service. Police. And am I correct to understand that's a reference to men and women in uniform who are the police?
Mm-hmm.
So if the Act says he is responsible for that function, I want to get your understanding as to the effect of any directives you may issue as city manager on that power. Can you strip him of that power, as you understood things?
As I understand, I used the systems of delegation that actually explains the powers of the chief, which level can he appoint. He is, in terms of the systems of delegations approved by council, he is only responsible to appoint his deputies, and his deputies are delegated to deal with the lower levels and the executive managers, etc., etc. In terms of, I relied on the systems of delegation. In as much as there is this notion that I usurped his powers, but I worked with documents that council uses. Remember, we are both appointed by council. In as much as he has this subset that gave him powers. Hence, I said there is a gray area between the two legislation, which at some point council needs to actually acknowledge and correct some of these things. Remember, as an accounting officer, you are appointed in terms of the legislation, and you must abide by that legislation, which is the Municipal Systems Act, and also the systems of delegations, which are approved by council. I cannot go outside that in terms of my directive
I understood. Thank you for that. But just to close on that topic, when we, at paragraph 58, at page 11, you state his powers are further subject to my directives. That is a reference to his powers in terms of the SAPS Act, not the Municipal Systems Act, correct?
Both.
Okay, I'll accept both. Can I try again then to say, what does your directives do to his powers? Can you change his powers? Can you strip him of his powers?
I can't.
Okay. So your directives would never have that effect, whether the powers derive from the Systems Act or the SAPS Act?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Can I just
Yes,
clarify this?
yes, Commissioner.
Dr. Mashazi, it requires a yes answer, and you can elaborate if you so wish. My understanding of your evidence is that to the extent that you participated in recruitment, appointment, transfers within the municipal police, you believe that you were acting in terms of the powers conferred upon the Municipal Systems Act and the systems of delegation. Whether you are right or wrong, that's a separate issue, but you believe that these two instruments permitted you to do that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Commissioner. I never participated in the employment of junior officials. I only participate in the appointment of HODs. That is a legislated powers in terms of the Systems Act, that the accounting officers shall be the chairperson of the panel to appoint senior managers, senior manager including chief of police. Then, when you go to the delegations are clear. Then such powers from the municipal accounting officer are further subdelegated to the HODs, which is now chief of police. Chief of police powers are delegated to appoint divisional heads, which are his deputies. Then further to that, I've attached a copy. Deputies are responsible to appoint the next level. So meaning at the inspector level, the lowest level, it will be your superintendent who are going to be delegated, who are delegated to appoint those junior officials. I do not sit in the interviews of junior officials, including the divisional heads. The divisional heads, chief sits there as the chairperson of those panels, including the appointment of General Mkwanazi. He said there.
You say you did not take any powers away from him.
No.
You simply followed the Municipal Systems Act and the systems of delegation.
Correct.
So it was not you taking powers away from him.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, Commissioner Kwalo.
Dr. Mashazi, just to make sure that I understand, I'm looking at this delegation document at page 27 of the bundle. That's IM 7. I just want to make sure that I understand I'm reading it correctly.
Can you raise your voice?
Page 27 of the bundle, it's IM 7.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that I understand it correctly. So what you've got there is you've got in that shaded part, it says the HOD has the following, EMPD has the following assigned to him in terms of the applicable legislation. You see where I'm reading?
Yes.
Okay. And then if you go to item 2 thereof, it says responsible for maintaining an impartial, accountable, transparent appointment, promotion, and transfer of members of the Metro Police Service. If you go to the column with delegation, where the heading is delegation, you see what I'm saying, where I'm reading?
Yes.
Am I reading it correctly to say that that power in 2, he exercises it in respect of divisional heads? Is that the way to read it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then when you go to 3, item 3, which says responsible for recruitment, appointment, promotion, and transfer of members, subject to applicable law, that applies to divisional heads and executive managers.
Correct.
And then lastly, responsible for the discipline of the municipal police service, that applies to divisional head, executive managers, and managers. So he's got the power over those people.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, I understand. Thanks, Mr.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Dr. Mashazi. That then brings us to the end of question 1. And I would then like to invite us to consider question 2. For that purpose, I think you can close the
Sure, I would do honestly.